Episode 5 of Highlight. Welcome back to the show. What do we got going on? I don't know. This is your host, Carlisle Fletcher, with Highlight. Today, what I want to open up with is the phrase get good. Um, as somebody who's, I think it's pretty relatively easy to understand that I identify as a linguist. You know what I mean? Um, it's, well, no, wait. Keep my sweatshirt on for a second. It's not too hot yet, but my job is words. My passion is words. I love words. And there's a lot of words, which is it's funny. It's funny when you grow up on the internet and you grow up literate because then you have these different communities that don't necessarily intersect. So you have people who are really well educated or who are really experienced in discussing complicated topics, then be exposed to words like or phrases like get good. Another one's lurk more, stuff like that, where it's just this useful shorthand that develops from the internet. And it's just funny that a lot of people are illiterate in this sort of language. So the idea behind get good is that so it's like um, say you're playing Counter Strike, you know, very early first person shooter, which has been remade a few times. But say you started playing that and you're an 11-year-old, right? And you're an 11-year-old, not exactly the most brilliant strategian, unless you like, grew up doing airsoft and stuff like that. But just say like, you're just trying to like, fit in, get some skills, just like whatever. And like, you're just on like a public lobby and you're just like, playing your game, shooting shots, but you keep just getting fucking stomped on. Then you're just like, what the fuck, man? This game's unfair. This game's unbalanced. I just don't like, you're just bitching on the mic. And then the correct response is get good. Just put in the hours, put in the 200 hours it takes to begin to become adequate at Counter Strike. Spend the time, put in the practice, develop a skill, and you'll finally have something to offer. And I think that this applies to every aspect of life where people get frustrated where they're like, oh my God, you're so gifted. Or like, like they just tell, they throw these things at you that are just like, where it's like, I wish I could be that good at the video game. I wish that I could draw like that. I wish that I had your body, your metabolism. It's like, do pull-ups, do studies from real life, teach yourself. Like it's a cliche that we have a smartphone in our pocket and something that's bigger contains more knowledge than the Library of Alexandria in your fucking pocket. And so it's like you can teach yourself or learn anything. So that's what get good is empowering you to do. And that's why I think it's such an important phrase is that there's the Goodwill Hunting thing, there's all that stuff, where it's like you can teach yourself. You can acquire skills. It simply takes practice, dedication, and consistency. So if you were to play Counter-Strike 5 hours a fucking day, you'd get better. You would get better, I promise. Reading is the same way, painting is the same way, getting a job is the same fucking way. It's like you just get better at what you do. We're humans. Humans are a learning animal. We have to be, or else how would we make it so far? So it's like have faith in the evolutionary processes that got you here and that made you a active creature that can react to its environment in real time, and have faith that your body will be able to learn the skill set and the things it needs to learn to actually be adequate in surviving or going through the task that these environments demand. So that's what I think is unpacked in the phrase get good. Um, so like just in like combining that with lurk more, lurk more is it's the same sort of phrase where it's just like being part of a community and then like posting in it, but not like posting. So say it's like an ironic humor community, and then saying a joke that doesn't make sense within the inside jokes that are being built by that community, then it's like lurk more so that you can understand the symbols or the language being used by that community before you engage with it, so that you can like basically it's do the reading, it's do the work. Like, it's like you can't just go into You can't just go into a conversation about classic lit having never read any classic lit and then just expect people to take you seriously. That's not how that one works. Um, so lurk more is also an important phrase because behind lurk more and behind get good is really respect. It's really respect. It's putting in the effort to fit in. But like when fitting in doesn't mean conforming, it means building up the commonality. Where it's like Counter Strike is enjoyed by Russians and Americans and people in South Africa and people in like Venezuela. Like as long as you have an internet connection, you don't need much else. It's like that's fine because it's a skill that you it's a skill that you develop for having the ability to do that, yes, but also through putting in the time and dedication to develop that skill into something. And anybody who does that, no matter anything else in their life, it doesn't matter if they don't have a foot, it doesn't matter if they have had things amputated, it doesn't matter if they're mute, it doesn't matter about any of that things. It simply matters that they have the skill that everybody in that community has. So I think that get good and lurk more, while they're insulting phrases, they're some of the most empowering actions that you can take. So it's like honestly, it's really fucking good advice. um, you should get good. You should have an adequate level of skill to fit in and be valuable to the world around you. Um, and if you're not, and if you're in an environment that is not, I think you're going to be surrounded by resentful jealousy. Excuse me. And what I mean by this is that when somebody isn't good and they refuse to put in the effort, the dedication, and the patience to become good, because also understand, I'm coming from a position where I don't believe in talent. I think that talent is great. There is the question of like, I think it comes down to taste because it's like, why do why do why do I enjoy Belly, but why don't I enjoy Goncharov's writing style in the same way? I think it's taste. I don't think that there's a genius question here. I think that it's just inspiration, talent, and just like what people come up with. Um, Hello. But yeah, so I think that genius is something that you should just get out of the question when you're thinking about what you can do with your life or what you can do with your skills. I think that instead you should be looking at how to improve yourself at a reasonable rate, bit by bit, second by second, and action by action. And I think that this is achievable for everybody, no matter their level of genius or talent. So I think that I think that is a more important framing because even if you're incorrect, and even if genius is the only thing, even if genius is the only thing that matters, you are building yourself up to better yourself and have more opportunity to truly move forward. So if you're suffering with this, or if your community is suffering with this, and that you cannot progress through dedicated practice, I think that that's where the resentful, unproductive community comes in, where there's this sort of like, God doesn't love me attitude, or that people don't appreciate my work, or that, things aren't making way for me as this special, significant, unique being, and I am not receiving the attention that I deserve. I think that attitude is the most toxic, terrible way you can go through life. Like imagine being a woodworker where you're just like, it's like, I want to fucking work on a condo. I want to do the shelving and the flooring and everything for this condo, So it's like, you just show up and you're like trying to get all these jobs and they're looking for somebody with like 7-12 years of experience. And you're just there like, this fucking sucks, man. Like life's unfair, man. Why won't these people fucking hire me, man? It's like, because you don't have any fucking relevant experience. Like, just get good, because I mean, I've also like I've known friends who've bust You know, where they just get an instrument, go out on the street, play a little tune, get some fucking money. I've known people who've done the same shit with painting and sold painting. I've sold my books on the fucking street. You know, it's like it's not that it's the best way to do it. It's just that it's out there and that it gives you a more realistic response to your work. Because there's always something you can do. Fatalism or just sacrificing yourself to waiting for life to work out for you is worthless. It's pointless. If you're waiting for the critic that's going to make your life good, if you're waiting for the community that's going to put you on their back, if you're waiting for anything like that, it's absolutely toxic and worthless. And that's where Get Good and Lurk More really come into things, because it's like it's not on the world to appreciate you, it's on you to develop a skill that gets you attention, or to learn the rules of a society and become an integrate into that society. You know, so that's where I would just parse these words and why they're important, especially in a modern dialogue. And I think that I'm going to be using this platform to try with some terms, because I do think it's just funny to watch people over the age of like what 30 use these phrases where it's like, bro, like I don't know, I'm also a fucked up individual where I be talking to kids and then like I'm just talking about fucking memes and shit and they're like, I haven't seen that yet. And it's like, god damn it, what's wrong with me? I do not talk to kids, but I'm talking about somebody in like the 14 to 18 age range, of which I know none. I don't know anybody that age range anymore. Actually, everybody grew up, but still, you know, it's just like in passing, talking to somebody from Gen Z, and then them being less computer literate is just funny, because it's just like, guys, come on, I need you to be teaching me about the memes, man. Anyways, so now that we've done this little introduction, Drew Langlois, I think that's how you pronounce his name, but DRUE space LANGLOIS. I think that's right. I'm dyslexic as fuck, so like I don't know. But that guy, Staying Positive in the Apocalypse, one of my favorite fucking shows I've seen. Just this wonderfully sparse atmosphere. This just completely, you know, it's just like there's like it feels so hollow, and yet there's a perfect feeling of the screen. There's a perfect feeling of the action of the show. You know, so it's like there's always a forward momentum. There's always something going on with it, and with his like celebrities that he brings into it too, and like just his you know, just like his sort of his flair for creating a world, which also is true with the Dudes of Hazmat, and I think there's another show, but it's fucking fantastic. His physical comedy's on point, all that's on point. Dudes of Hazmat is like really, it's a great show if you're looking for like an Adult Swim sort of more adolescent show where it's like, you know, it's like funny puns and like slapstick. And I feel like Staying Positive in the Apocalypse is a more existential humor where it's just like, you know, it's like it doesn't always hit the same way. There's also certainly slapstick, but yeah, I cannot recommend his work enough. Really start with the pilot of the Apocalypse show, and just like fucking A, dude, fuck it, just props. It's getting like a couple milli on some hits. I mean, well, let's see, let's look it up. What is he standing at today on the pilot of Staying Positive? Staying Positive in the Apocalypse pilot. YouTube's not doing what I want it to. So, Staying Positive in the Apocalypse pilot. How many views does that have? 255,000. 255,000. Cool. It's a great fucking show. I'd still say that's underrated. I think it should get like to 2 million. Anyways, he's still making shit. Then there, yeah. So that's a little bit of other stuff. Cultural good news. Yeah. So get good. Don't trust artists. Watch Drew Langlois. Langlois. Also, what's his fucking name? He just blew up big. Joel Haver. Joel Haver. Fucking great. Fucking great. Happy to see both of those boys. Just making it happen, you know? Because both of those creators, I would say, have sort of an oddball sort of sense of comedy, where it's not maybe not the most traditional, but it is like they're landing shit. They're just, I think both of their careers on a positive trajectory, which is like definitely what you want to see, and they definitely deserve it. So good job, fam. We should probably get onto the literature subject, and I use this one for the thumbnail. This is Karamazov's History, which is which is a very lightweight little tome. It's very small book. Compare that to let's see. This is about a normal sized book. Well, I guess no, it's taller. See, it's at the bottom of their name, but it's like taller. So it's like a short. It's like it's compact. I like it a lot. I like the feel of it, and it's actually oddly enough printed out of the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, which is they did a good job. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but it's by Richard Pipes. I'm sorry, Dick Pipes, dude. I'm sorry, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I really respect you. This is a great translation. Great work. Great work. Yeah, it's the University of Michigan Press out of Ann Arbor, as I've said. And it's got like a good little intro. Oh, fuck. It's got a good little intro, so I think it starts on like page 90. Yeah, so it starts on like page, like that's all introductory text. It's all just like, stuff about it. And yeah, it starts on page 103. Wow. But so it starts with the Kiev. So it's like, a city in Ukraine in the Mongol periods, where it's about that. It's very fascinating little tale. I think I would highly recommend it just for it's a great history, and some alternative history. It's like that's the thing that I think is really weird about being a human being is that this should take like 2 days reading. Take like 2 days reading. But what I think is really weird about just being somebody who's alive is that you're born into a place on Earth, you get educated there, and then you get like the history from that perspective. But it is like you just don't really think about like where do Argentinians look on in the map? Where do people from Madagascar look on in the map? It's like you're from America, you're sort of just used to that shit. But just thinking about like what Russia is and like what Russia's doing, I think it's very fascinating. I think it does like open up comprehension of what's going on. I mean, like Mansa Musa is an interesting thing, or an interesting person to study. This is going on mute because I can't just have my computer be making noise. So like, just the second paragraph. Well, okay, fine. We'll do a little bit. The present is a consequence of the past. To judge the former, one must recollect the latter. Each, so to say, completes the other, and viewed together, the two present themselves to the mind more clearly. From the Caspian Sea to the Baltic, from the Black Sea to the Arctic, amid deserts known to the Greeks and Romans more from fairy tales than from correct descriptions of eyewitnesses, there lived 1,000 years ago peoples given to nomadism, hunting, and agriculture. From these diverse tribes, it pleased Providence to create the most spacious state in the world. Rome, once strong with valor, had weakened from luxury and collapsed, shattered by the might of the northern barbarians. New epochs followed, new peoples, new customs appeared, and Europe acquired a new appearance, the principal feature in which are still to be seen in her political systems. In a word, upon the ruins of Roman dominion, there established itself in Europe the dominion of the Germanic people. Russia also joined this new general system. Scandinavia, the layer of restless nights, officia gentium, vagina nationum. I'm sorry, I'm fucking. I'm an adult. Vagina nationum. I think so. Furnished our fatherland with its first sovereigns, whom the Slavic and Finnic tribes dwelling on the shores of Lake Iman, the White Lake, and the river Valkia accepted of their free will. Come, the Finns and the Slavs told them, having wearied of their internecine wars. Internecine? I don't know these fucking words sometimes, dude. Come to reign and rule over us. Our land is rich and great, but there is no order in it. This took place in 1862. At the end of the 10th century, European Russia was already as large as it is today. That is, she had matured from infancy into extraordinary greatness. The Russians, as hireling of the Greeks, fought in 1964 against the Arabs in Sicily and later in the environs of Babylon. What caused such an unusual historic phenomenon? The fervent romantic passion of our early princes for conquest and monocracy, which they founded on the ruins of this multitude of weak, quarreling democratic states of which Russia had previously been made up. Rurik, Oleg, Savotislav, Vladimir gave the citizens no opportunity of recovering from the rapid successions of victories, from the constant din of military encampments, compensating them with glory and with booty for the loss of their previous liberty, which had brought them poverty and conflict. So, I mean, that's like, just a peek into it. I think it's really well written. And again, it is just like, it's an interesting tale, it's like just talking about European history from that perspective. I don't know about y'all, but like in my experience with history, it's mostly been like, Europe existed, therefore America could, like it's basically like Europe existed, then there's a colonization of the New World, and then we told them to fuck off. And then we have history, and that's what happened. So it's just really fascinating to hear accounts from across the ocean or in other regions of the world that are as lucid as like at home in the brain as the American tale. So I find that fascinating. So we're just bouncing around. We should probably stay focused for a little bit longer on my boy Karamazov. This guy is accredited of creating. This is like the first history essentially on Russia. He actually makes fun of him, so he makes fun of him, and then they have a big fight. But yeah, so I'm sorry, Professor Pipes. I'm really sorry, man. It's awesome. It's a great fucking translation. Thank you so much. So yeah, I don't. They're not giving me the information I want off of this right now, but it is a defense of the Romanovs, etc. Legalism, all that in the state. And this is what is to be done. We've talked about it before on the show, but it is like I don't know. They use quotes and stuff like that, but it's like one of the best examples of socialist thought outside of philosophy or economic conversation. Let's see. To seek the superfluous is as bad as to reject the necessary. A little quote. And I mean, so this is about the emancipations of the serfs, and we're just gonna read this part as a. Well, this guy believes in the autocracy. This guy believes in the old Russian order. So this is another, you know, I mean, I guess what we're highlighting on this show is the conversation of the emancipation of the serfs, because that leads to a development. That's the socialist revolution. That's what happened. Like 50 years after the emancipation of the serfs, this is what happened. And what does the emancipations of serfs in Russia entail? That they be allowed to live where they wish, that their masters be deprived of all authority over them, and that they come exclusively under the authority of the state. Very well. But these emancipated peasants will have no land, which, this is incontrovertible, belongs to the gentry. They will, therefore, either stay on with their present landlords, paying them quit rent, cultivating their fields, delivering bread where necessary, in a word, continuing to serve them as before, or else, dissatisfied with the terms, they will move to another, less exacting landlord. In the first case, it is not likely that the masters, relying on man's natural love for his native soil, will impose on the peasants the most onerous terms. Previously, they had spared them, seeing in the serfs their own property, but now the greedy among them will try to exact from the peasants all that is physically possible. The landlords will draw up a contract. The tiller will re-engage, or renege. I don't fucking know, man. And there will be lawsuits, eternal lawsuits. In the second case, with the peasant now here, now there, won't the treasury suffer losses in the collection of the soul tax and other revenues? Will not agriculture suffer as well? Will not many fields lie fallow, and many granaries stay empty? After all, the bread on our market comes, from the most part, not from the free farmers, but from the gentry. And here is one more evil consequence of emancipation. The peasants, no longer subjected to signorial justice from which there is no appeal, and which there is in which is free of charge, will take to fighting each other and litigating in the city. What ruin! Freed from the surveillance of the masters who dispose of their own zemskaya isprava, or police, there is much more active than all the land courts, which is much more active than all the land courts. The peasants will take to drinking and villainy. What a gold mine for taverns and corrupt police officials, but what a blow to morals and the security of the state. In short, at the present time, the gentry, dispersed throughout the realm, assist the monarch in the preservation of peace and order by divesting them of all this supervisory authority. He would, like Atlas, take all of Russia upon his shoulders. Could he bear it? The collapse would be frightful. The primary obligation of the monarch is to safeguard the internal and external unity of the state. Benefiting estates and individuals comes second. Alexander wishes to improve the lot of the peasants by granting them freedom. But what if this freedom should harm the state? And will the peasants be happier, freed from their master's authority, but handed over to their own vices, to tax farmers and to unscrupulous judges? There can be no question that the serfs of a sensible landlord, one who contends with himself with a moderate quit rent, or labor on a deciatina of plowland for each household, are happier than the state peasants, for they have in him a vigilant protector and defender. Is it not better to quietly take measures to bridle cruel landlords? These men are known to the governors. If the latter faithfully fulfill their obligations, such landlords will promptly become a thing of the past, and unless Russia has wise and honest governors, the free peasants will not prosper either. I do not know whether Goldenlov did well in depriving the peasants of their freedom, since the conditions of that time are not fully known. But I do know that this is not the time to return it to them. Then they had the habits of free men. Today they have the habits of slaves. It seems to me that from the point of view of political stability, it is safer to enslave men than it is to give them their freedom prematurely. Freedom demands preparation through moral improvement. And who will call our system of wine farming and the dreadful prevalence of drunkenness a sound preparation for freedom? In conclusion, we have this to say to the good monarch. Sir, history will not reproach you for the evil which you have inherited, assuming that serfdom is actually an equivocal evil, but you will answer before God, conscious and posterity, for every harmful consequence of your own statutes. I do not condemn Alexander's law permitting villagers to gain their freedom with their master's permission, but are many of them sufficiently rich to avail themselves of it? Will there be many prepared to surrender all they have in return for freedom? The serfs of humane landlords are content with their lot. Those who serve bad landlords are impoverished. The situation of both categories renders this law ineffectual. So, I mean, challenging thoughts, man, because it is the question of like, it's like freedom's good, but is freedom at the cost of quality of life good? Not to say that freedom, it's like, because there's also the Benjamin Franklin angle of like those who would sacrifice liberty, those who would sacrifice liberty for the sake of security deserves neither liberty nor security. So there is always an inherent risk or inherent danger to having your freedom. But I think it is a question of like, has life become better over the last 200 years? I mean, in certain regards, obviously yes. Obviously yes, with literacy, with the freedom of pursuing music, with the freedom of, McDonald's is the cheapest caloric, or even accounting for inflation, McDonald's is the cheapest food you could ever get in history, so history, like food's more available, education's more available, opportunities are more available. But I mean, we got what, 33% of the country's obese, 38% of the country's obese, and then there's like, most of us are overweight, and then you got the opiate epidemic, and then you got, you got meth heads and tweakers and all that shit, so it's like, yeah, we're free, but are we not just dying anyway? I don't know. I'm obviously a fan of the revolutions of 1790 and etc. So obviously I fall within the radical humanist traditions of individual liberty and the sovereignty of the self. But while I do agree that everybody should be sovereign over themselves and that everybody has that responsibility, I do not really agree that we're doing the best that we can with it. And I think that there is like, simple, like you'll feel better if you eat vegetables, man. Like, it's like, it's not like a big fucking thing. It's just that it's like, if most of us can cut out sugar, because again, like if you look at it, like sugar is more addictive than cocaine. I can find the fucking animal studies on that, but fire up the same fucking neurotransmitters, they sound the same, but the difference between sugar and cocaine is that you can't put cocaine in your kid's fucking juice box, Yet you just load that shit up with sugar. You make them pre-diabetics by the time they're 14, like. So that's how we're raising people, which is like, that is slavery. That is slavery. And if you have ever quit sugar, I think that you can tell that it is slavery, because you are not, like, we have to, I think that it's necessary to educate ourselves a little bit more. You gotta limit the ego, because the ego is just, it's just what your brain gives you, man. And then sort of, I would put in, I think materialism is important. I think that you should understand some things materialistically. One of those is the neural pathways in your brain and obsession and addiction and things like that. Because sugar, you don't like sugar. You don't enjoy it. It doesn't have a flavor. Your body craves it because your body has been, the balance of it is different, So it's like if you spent your entire life eating sugar, your body is going to be filled with all these microorganisms and all this balance in your body that craves it and demands it and bullies you into depending on it forever. You know, so I would say, you know, so I would say like, yes, freedom is good, but the freedom to be obese and watch TV is not really freedom at all. Um, if you let your baser instincts rule over your day-to-day life, and you do not think about what you do, and you do not process life, then the freedom, I wouldn't really describe it as a free state, you know. So that's where I think the conversation about this is interesting, because it's like, if you are given your freedom and you are addicted, if you were like, you know, it's like, so say you were given your freedom 50 years before you were born. Before, if you were born 70 years ago, you would be in a serf class. Well, now you have your freedom. But as soon as you get out of the womb, they're putting you in a school system which trains you progressively every decade to be more and more helpless and more dependent on an outside system for A, your sense of self and your sense of accomplishment, and B, how to get information. You know, it's setting you up in this way where you are the suppliant of this educated system, whether that be a teacher, whether that be a professor, whatever it is. So it's trained helplessness. And then on top of that, the diet that they're giving you is setting up your body in such a way that you are dependent on fried food, you're dependent on sugar, you're dependent on all these things. So it's like, yeah, sure, they gave you your freedom on paper, but they gave you no access to skills for 12 years through education. They could have given you woodworking, they could have given you a foreign language, they could have given you, you know, cooking, all these things. All these things could be in school. And I know that some people have them, and that's great. But still, like, auto shop should be completely across the board in every school. Wood shop, same shit. And like, if you can graduate with a basic level of adequacy in these skills, like, say again, like, say, imagine if you graduated high school being able to say, I have 6 years experience in carpentry. I have 6 years experience in auto mechanics. I have 6 years experience in, like, you know, it would have been much easier for you to find a job. But the thing is that they're not training you to do that. They're training you about fucking pre-calculus, which you're not going to remember. They're training you in like the mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell. You know, all that shit. Where it's like, I mean, this is really bad advice, but find a technical thing in the world, you know? Find something that's like highly technical, whether that's like neurochem or whether that's like, you know, physics and something like that. Find something that's fascinating to you and beyond your level. And then just, you know, get a hold of it, and then spend an entire day trying to read it and looking up and researching everything you don't understand about it. Spend a month doing that, and tell me if you can't fucking understand it by the end of that month. You know, because it's like, I think that's gonna be way more useful to you than just these fucking vocabulary lists and these useless fucking patterns of just like, you know, I don't know. I'm very skeptical, especially in America, because the American school model is based off the Prussian school model, which was literally built to make obedient, unquestioning people. And if you think right now what you need to be is obedient, unquestioning, and addicted to sugar, I don't know. I don't really understand the difference between that and a serf class. I think that it's difficult to do that, especially when you're saying that the richest people nowadays are richer than any kings ever fucking been. You know, so we've got the richest people in history, and what the fuck do they do for us? You know, so I don't know. I think that it's I don't have much more to say on the subject because I'm obviously anti-serfdom, but I think that the ideological element to it is important. And you should review these things, and you should look up what's behind the things, like your world and all that. But I think that the comparison and the analysis looks real fucking interesting because, I mean, we can get a little bit conspiratorial with it. We can get a little bit. This is high lit after all. We're paranoid, stoner, fucking literate people. But to me, it does look in some ways like the ruling class was slighted in the 1790s and the 1800s, where they feel like the plebs, they feel like the dirty fucking rabble didn't respect them well enough, didn't treat them well enough, or give them their proper dues. So then, since then, they've given us our freedom on paper because of the French Revolution, where they like fucking murdered all those fucking people. So they're like, yeah, we'll say whatever you want. We'll say whatever you want. Yeah. But in the meantime, they've been making life a lower and lower quality of life for the average human being. Because another thing that I think is really important to think about when you're thinking about politics is that politics is not about geniuses. Again, and to get back to this, like genius does not matter here. The country is not by the smartest people for the smartest people in order so that the smartest people can survive. The smartest person in the world can survive with like a paperclip and a fucking piece of chalk. Like the smartest person in the world really doesn't need any fucking help at all. I'm not talking about abstract intelligence. I'm talking about people who have, some wherewithal, who have the ability to succeed. Those people, no, that's not. The politics exist in spite of them, because those people can make the world work with or without systems. What you're talking about in politics is the average dead center person and how you can help them and how the state can ensure their quality of life. Because what you're looking at with a person there is a person who's good enough to be moral, a person who's good enough to learn, a person who's good enough to hold down a job. That's the average person, but they might not be able to make everything work out. Like they might not have a job that can pay for a 3-bedroom house in San Francisco. So then it's like, well, what can politics do to help people in the middle achieve those sorts of things? I think that's how I look at politics, and I think it's a good way to do so. But anyways, we're going to get on to the science now. This is one of my favorite studies. This is from 2015. So I'm just going to read the abstract, but combined use of marijuana and tobacco is highly prevalent in today's population. Individual use of either substance is linked to structural brain changes and altered cognitive function, especially with consistent reports of hippocampal volume deficits and poorer memory performance. However, the combined effects of MJ and tobacco on hippocampal structure and However, the combined effects of marijuana and tobacco on hippocampal structure, excuse me, and on learning and memory processes remain as unknown. In this study, we examined both the individual and combined effects of marijuana and tobacco on hippocampal volumes and memory performance in 4 groups of adults taken from 2 larger studies. Marijuana users equals 36, nicotine users equals 19, combined marijuana and nicotine users equals 19, and non-using healthy controls equals 16. So that's the amount of each. Total bilateral hippocampal volumes and memory performance were compared across groups controlling for total brain size and recent alcohol use. Results, and that's very fucking crucial because you have to control for alcohol use if you're like studying cannabis in the brain. Results from marijuana and nicotine groups had smaller total hippocampal volumes compared to nic-only and controls. No significant difference between groups was found between immediate and delayed story recall. However, the controls showed a trend for larger hippocampal volumes being associated with better memory scores, while marijuana and nicotine users showed a unique inversions, whereby smaller hippocampal volume is associated with better memory. Overall, results suggest abnormalities in the brain-behavior relationship underlying memory processes with combined use of marijuana and nicotine use. Further research will be to address that shit. But yeah, it's so fucking crazy. So fucking weird, dude. That's so fucking weird, dude. But so basically, what that's finding is that the hippocampus is it's a pretty famous. Well, that this article just got fucking embargoed. What? That's fucking wild. But so what's finding is like the hippocampus is like a pretty famous part of the brain. I feel like most people have heard of it before. It's a memory center, so it's like I believe it's like right around somewhere in there. And yeah, it helps control your memory. It helps like manage all that. And the smaller it is, the worse your memory will be, just like based on average studies of the human brain. But and so when you fill your brain or when you fill your body with smoke, it makes it so that the hippocampus shrinks or is smaller, thus making for negative memory effects in those who smoke. However, for people who smoke weed and tobacco, so people who smoke blunts and stuff like that, people who combine the uses of it, for some reason, the correlation is that if you have a smaller hippocampus, then your memory works better than if you have a larger hippocampus, which is the direct inverse of the average human body. So that study, fucking wild, a fucking wild study. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, I'm having difficulty finding more, but I will try. I'll try my best. Try my best to find out because there's a follow-up study, I believe, in 2017, which is also yeah. This is the problem that you can't just like really bullshit this stuff. You kind of have to just like actually know what the fuck you're talking about. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's one from 2017 that I'll find for Monday. Yeah, because this is based on an MRI scan. This study was. The name of the study, for those who are curious, is the Combined Effects of Marijuana and Nicotine on Memory Performance and Hippocampal Volume, published 2015, July 14. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I think that it is a fascinating piece of research. And there was a follow-up one that confirmed, like, that furthered these ideas. And I think it is just fascinating because it opens up the conversation about, like, I think it's 70% or something of people who smoke weed also smoke cigarettes. And, like, it's like that seems like that might be a fucking factor in it, you know? If everybody who's smoking weed is like, it's like not everybody, but if a lot of people are using nicotine as well, and then like it shows that it helps with memory, like maybe it is just as simple as a functional thing, you know? Maybe that's just what people are using it for. And I think that it also explains a lot of the appeal because I don't know, like as somebody who's daily user, I think like yeah, definitely that like I noticed that like my memory was just sharper when I started mixing the two because like when I first started smoking, I didn't do any nicotine, dude. I definitely weed was the first thing I ever fucking did. Alcohol came after, cigarettes came after. It was definitely weed, and it was weed for a long time. The reason why I got and like this is so silly, but the reason why I got into drinking and smoking was to understand other people. Because it's like, it's like, why does everybody love this shit so much? So then it's like you get addicted just to see what all the hype's about. And now I can smoke and drink with the best of them. So, um, yeah, I definitely feel like it does help your memory when you mix the two. So, I mean, there's science behind it. It's like, why would a smaller hippocampus help with that? We just don't know what's going on with the fucking plant-based medicines, man. Uh, I have an article published about that somewhere, but yeah, we're doing good. We're hitting marks. We're getting shared around. This is episode 5 of High Lit. We're about to be in the ending section. I'm gonna check my phone. I'm sorry. Cool.
I'm gonna be texting in class for a fucking second. I'm debating whether or not these should be 30 minutes or an hour. I think that 30 minutes might just make it more lightweight, easier to digest, and just easier to. But I also like it the hour because I feel like it's relaxing and it's just like a good way to just chill out and hang out. I mean, I'm also just, it's cool to talk about this stuff because I fucking dig it. You can catch me at the Fresh Toast. Should be 2 articles a week, so that's where I should be every week. Canada Mag, always up on that one too. Respect My Region, Cannabis Tech, all the homies. So I'm around. Living in Detroit still. We ain't got shit going on. My book, I'm probably gonna be doing another edition of it. I'm probably gonna be changing stuff and adding stuff in, and changing some scenes around just because I'm fucking hyper particular about every fucking thing that I do. And I just wanted the book out, so it's like. Something I hate is that it's like, as somebody who's like been a very prolific artist, just like as the years go by and people catch up to where you've been as an artist, and then you're just like, well, fuck, now I can't get the credit for that fucking idea. Somebody else published it before me, even though I had it before them, So that's why I just publish pretty much unfinished works. And I think that, yeah, it's still worth money. Still a decent book. I don't fucking know, guys. We've also got Primary Jane. They're good. We've been covering some of their stuff lately. I'd be happy to cover something on this show if they wanted to. You guys want to talk about that? Any brands out there that want to talk about being on the show, sponsoring the show? That'd be cool. Definitely need more energy, or just more design for a live show. I had some ideas going in this time. I feel like I did carry it better. I feel like it just it's falling apart now. Because I just, you get sick of reading shit all fucking day, dude. You get sick of reading aloud and reading aloud and reading aloud and reading aloud. So that's what I think is the most difficult part of the show. I should probably just find general ideas and stuff like that. I'm still working on this guy. I think this will take a minute. That's where I'm at with this one. And I usually, it's like I used to read like 100, 200 pages a day. I used to read 500 pages a day. I was fucking insane. But, like it just, I don't know, like, I just am busy now. I'm busy being depressed. It's just a crazy world, It's like all this fucking virus shit and all that's going on. Such a difficult stuff on this, but oh boy. I'm excited to finish that one too. What are we doing after that? I think we're gonna be doing more Musil. Probably Artie Lang too. Honestly, I want to buy like everything fucking Artie Lang ever wrote because he's fascinating. Love him, and he's also like pretty bedrock for modern psychology, modern psychotherapy. So it's useful. I'm actually talking to my therapist about him. Also, guys, get a therapist. It impresses girls, and therapists just tell you you're right anyway. That's a joke. But yeah, therapy's fucking great. It's great. I give it a 10 out of 10. It's good. That's the bad ones. The schizophrenic ceases to be schizophrenic when he meets someone by whom he feels understood. I mean, yeah, I do relate to that. So again, we've broken down this idea on this show. We've talked about this sort of stuff. We're just going through it now. We need a better fucking setup. That's what we really need. We can really break through these ideas, but that's why we're just keeping them up and just keeping to move forward. It's because the show should just grow. as time does, and as we move forward, and as we do this and that. And I try not, like, really what I'm learning to do right now is not how to not have dead air, and how to just stay convincingly motivated for an hour. And again, I should really prepare, but I don't. Cool things, multiple sclerosis is we've got good studies on that one. Looks like that's going to be good. They did cannabis oils, and they found that it had a positive effect on health, on pain, spasticity, and sleep disturbances, while also having much less adverse effects than traditional medicine. So that's pretty cool. There's also a PTSD study. It's like it's relatively, we know what's going on with that, but something that is concerning. This isn't good news, but it is concerning, is that there is a correlation between suicidal ideation, opiate use, and cannabis use. So it's like those who are using cannabis and opiates are more likely to have suicidal ideation. But those who use opiates already are already pretty likely to have suicidal ideation. So it's a difficult bag of worms, because also it's like between 40 and 60% on average via the studies of people who use cannabis in tandem with their opiates can find themselves lowering their dosage over time, if not quitting if not quitting totally. So, who's to say? Who's to say? But yeah, ultimately, personally, my belief on the matter is that it's more helpful than it is harmful. That's my belief, So that's not science. That's just my gut on that one. And I can find the studies to try to prove my gut right. But that's just how I feel about that one. Also, none of this shows an endorsement. I don't know if I have to say that one. I don't know if I have to qualify that. I think that you can kind of tell you're listening to a stoner in his bedroom. Don't take my advice. Take this as a launching pad for you to do your own investigations on whatever interests you in this show. And what else? I'm just doing this one. I'm just ripping them up, and then I'm just bending it over, and then I'm just rolling it up, because I do things with my hands. I'm a handsy guy. A digit fixation. I like to have my hands full. I don't know if that works, but it kind of does. Anyways, what else? So yeah, PTSD and multiple sclerosis is what we are doing this week. We're gonna be looking for more stuff over the weekend too. Probably hit you guys up about that Monday. Man, I really want to finish that book. Maybe I'll try to do that this weekend. Maybe I'll try to put it in. I mean, it's probably got like another. I don't check. I try really hard not to check page count, because I think it just demotivates you. Or it's a different thing. I don't think that you should think about the book being done as you're reading it. I think that you should just experience it uncritically. I also hate spoilers, dude. And that's why it's like really weird to do this show, because I don't want to do that. But I mean, guesstimating, that's probably like got another 200 pages in it. And yeah, it's dense as fuck, boy. And I got shit to do in my life. So like, hopefully we'll be over. Hopefully we'll be through that Monday. If not, we're gonna keep talking about it, because that's what we fucking do on my show. On the Margin by Huxley looks interesting. I also got, I got New Musil. I got like Amon Ra around here too. Love Russia. I'm probably gonna stay in Russia. Probably should. It's thematic. That or RD Lang and all this other stuff, Fucking yeah. And so these are the filters that I just rolled compulsively. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that so cool? Whoa. Whoa. So that's what I was doing. That's someone fell. Yeah. Yeah. J-Reg. J-Reg. Good job. Good job. What I appreciate his spreading of vocabulary. I don't think that we're ready for the conversations yet, but I think that he has essentially de-boomerized the dialogue, and he's given a roadmap to get through it. And we'll talk about this more later because it's the end of the show. It's been an hour, but yeah, I think there's a lot going on in the show. Obviously, everybody fucking knows that, but it's like especially like his irony video, his Anarcho Nihilist video, his just general. It's a very important educational platform, I'd say, and I think that he does way better than the people who just call everybody insults. So, anyways, that's the end of the show. That's where we fucking are. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. See you Monday.